So I'm thinking about these midges that are flying on me. I'm thinking about do no harm, and this idea that in yoga, ahimsa is one of the philosophies of, well, I don't know if it's a philosophy. It's one of the focal points in yoga, to do no harm. Hey, Tony. And in medicine, it's the Socratic oath, right? To do no harm. And when I am talking to practitioners who are interested in pain and injury and navigating that in the work that they do, I hear frequently practitioners say, yeah, I don't want anyone to get hurt while they're with me if they're a movement practitioner. And if they're a manual practitioner, it's usually like, I want to get rid of their pain. So do no harm, don't cause more pain, and also get rid of their pain is this great focal point. And every thought that I have around that focuses around the anatomy. So I think that the epitome of do no harm means know your anatomy. And here's what I mean by that. If we understand the body's function and the body's design, and we return the body back to its function and design, there is no pain, right? Because we weren't born with pain and we didn't evolve to have pain. Pain means that there's something wrong with the design or the function or both. Not designed by gifted design, but like how we're utilizing the design or the alignment that we're currently in. And alignment doesn't necessarily mean that it needs chiropractic intervention. It can be other more subtler misalignments in the skeleton. So if we're using the body the way it's designed and we are aligned the way we're designed and function is restored back to the design, then there is no pain, which means we need to know what that anatomy is and then also have tools to bring us back to that original design, a process, if you will, to return a client back to that position so that they don't have any harm or they don't have any pain. And so when I hear practitioners say, do no harm, I don't want any of my students or clients or patients to be experiencing any pain, the answer lies in the anatomy. And so I've been thinking about this for a while. I just had this conversation. I have had this before. I'm going to walk because these midges are about to distract me permanently. I've had this conversation before in years past. And when I was just at my colleague's studio last week, we did a live there together with her team. That's what we came up with. Like, why do you guys want me here talking about this functional anatomy? Like, what are you hoping for? What's your end goal? And the teachers were like, I don't want my students to be hurt. I want them to feel really good and to make sure that if they are hurting, it's not from anything that we did in my class. Love this, amazing. And I went back and said, well, what about if you also had some information that could mitigate some of the discomfort that they came in with? And these are yoga teachers, so I'm just using this as an example. But one of the reasons we do the physical practice of yoga is to take away any discomfort in the body so that the yogi can then sit in meditation without disruption. So that's like literally the whole point of the physical practice of yoga, is to get out of physical pain, not to cause it. And this isn't just a conversation about yoga. It's also for personal trainers and massage therapists and Pilates instructors and the whole bit, because we're in the same boat. But what I got to thinking about was like, how is it that I was able to identify what anatomy practitioners needed or had been missing? How did I become privy to that? And I've been told that a lot, and I also can see that. I remember actually making a huge mistake the first time I ran my mastery practitioner training program, because I was teaching them just the shots method, and it was really challenging in some places for them. And what I realized in that moment was they didn't have the same knowledge of anatomy that I did to be able to do the method and then implement the method. So I needed to quick fill in that gap. So where's the gap? Is the gap because I'll tell you where it's not. It's not because practitioners aren't trained. It's not because they're not smart enough. It's not because they don't want to know. And it's tempting to blame like our foundational education, like, oh, well, maybe it was the personal training, or it was the yoga teacher training, or it was the massage school that didn't teach me what I needed to know about anatomy. And I'm going to say that's really not fair, because that is the foundational, almost like entry-level place. It's like saying your bachelor's degree didn't teach you how to do a master's thesis. Sort of not like that doesn't equal. You got to have the first initial before you can stack on top of it. And so I was trying to think, well, where did I get the anatomy from? Like, how did it make sense to me? And I don't have a completely clear answer, but I have some suspicions. One is that when I was getting my undergraduate degree, it was a self-designed degree, and I was lucky enough to be able to take master's levels classes. So not only did I take everything in my bachelor's level that was anatomy related, I took the same anatomy that the nurses took. I took the same embryology that the physical therapist took. Like, I took all the anatomy in all the places. And then also I was able to take like graduate level pathophysiology and biomechanics and a whole bunch of things, while I was also a dancer and learning how to integrate all of that in my body while I was also going to massage therapy school. So maybe it was that, which just means that we need to know more, but we all know that. We all get to know more. But I think there's also another piece to it, and that is that from working clinically, from taking all of that breadth of knowledge, which I keep appealing to you guys to have a really deep and wide breadth of anatomy knowledge, then I took it into the clinical setting and I was able to synthesize it in a way that got specific. And so that specific clinical work is what I teach to practitioners. And I think that's why it lands. I think that's why they're like, this is so applicable. Why didn't I learn this in school? Because you weren't supposed to learn it in school, but you are, I think, deserving of having it after school lets out. So do no harm, learn more anatomy, but not just any anatomy, because that's literally a lifetime practice. Learn the anatomy that's applicable to the type of work that you want to do. And if you want to do relaxation or something that feels good, great. That's a different focal point. If you want to do orthopedic corrections and really work on optimizing mechanics and function, it's a different type of anatomy, and none of us have that in school, right? Massage therapists don't get that in school because in massage therapy, the patient's passive. So how can I possibly learn how to restore function if the work that I was taught was to work on a patient while they're passive? You get what I'm saying, right? Like, you need to have more, and it needs to be applicable. So make sure that where you're learning your anatomy also applies to the type of work that you want to be doing, not just a review from where you already came from. And I'm going to also be showing like what I think is the applicable anatomy that's needed for all of us, who manual and movement practitioners alike, who want to be doing orthopedic corrective stuff. I'm going to be teaching that tomorrow in our Way of the Master Practitioner course. It's a pop-up class that I got an inspiration to do a few weeks ago. So we're doing that tomorrow for 2.5 hours, and I'm going to outline all of the anatomy that I believe you guys need to be able to do that type of orthopedic corrective work. If you're not yet registered, make sure that you register. We already have 93 people registered as of this morning, and our room only fits 100 people. So make sure you get yourself on that registration, and we'll also send out a replay to the people who are registered in case you don't make it live. But I'm going to outline all of that to you there. And what I just want to wrap up today and say is, do no harm. The epitome of do no harm is know the applicable functional anatomy that is required for you to implement on the person in front of you based on what they're presenting with and where you want to return them to and restore their function back to. And if you are a movement practitioner, all of that really made sense. If you're a manual practitioner, sometimes what I hear from manual practitioners is like, well, I don't teach function, I don't teach movement, so that's not really in my lane. Oh, but it is. See, that's the thing. If you're a massage therapist and you're working on pain, which a lot of us do, if you're a massage therapist and you're working on pain, the applicable part of anatomy for you is knowing what the movement is that's supposed to be happening or that's causing the pain, and what the movement is supposed to be to restore them. Doesn't mean you have to become a movement practitioner, but it means in order to answer the question that you're trying to answer, you need that applicable functional anatomy to be able to have a blueprint to know what to work on. So again, I'm going to outline all of that for you tomorrow. If you guys want to come to that class, it's from 2 to 4:30 Eastern. And if not, that's totally cool. I still recommend that you find the applicable anatomy for what you're working on. And also, just a reminder from what I gleaned last week talking to the colleague that I mentioned to you guys about in a live, let's be open to the idea that none of us knows all of it. Just align with someone who knows more than you and who's willing to teach you that you resonate with so that their teaching style can actually land and like speed up the process for you. But let's not be closed anymore and think that we know it all just because we've been licensed for however long we've been. And like, don't let our arrogance get in the way. Just stay open, because there are people who know more than you who could actually speed up the process for you. So that's our commitment for the rest of the year. Oh, that was an averted accident. Okay, I'm going to take that horn as a sign to go. I'll see you guys tomorrow.